The following program is being brought to you by the Farmhouse Cafe and Mind Body Spirit of Omaha.
Souls be looking for a healing and he's healing them, filling some of them with his spirit.
My name is Hesselgesser, and this is Hesselgesser on Purpose. Tonight I'd like to welcome my guest. Her name is Manya Nogg. She has been in the entertainment industry for almost 60 years. And in fact, she tells me that actors, etc., her business, her baby, will be 40 years old this fall. Is that correct?
November.
Yeah, in November. 40 years old.
And Theater to Go is 30 years old.
And Theater to Go. And you also teach.
Yeah, I do.
And tonight,
at Metro, I teach. I've been doing it for 15 years.
And tonight I found out that she's also a licensed private investigator.
That's so you'll behave yourself.
I'm going to try my best. For those that know me, it might be a little stretch. So tell me a little bit about Actors Limited. How did that get started?
Well, I was working in LA, and I started in television there, although I went out to work in films. And Chicago had one of the first television stations, so I went to work in Chicago. And after my father died, I wasn't going into the family business, but I kind of knew that my mother, needed some moral support. And I came back here and I worked for KBON, which was a radio station. And I'm sorry, I got my allergies, excuse me.
We all know what that's like this time of year.
After I always had my finger in something. And after I got married, I was working as a volunteer at the Playhouse doing makeup. And I did a lot of weird things with the makeup. And I got a call from a bank who wanted to know if I had anyone that could build a false bank vault front so they could use it for their bank opening and they could open the door and reach in and get candy. And I said, yep, I can do that. And I called Tom Casker at the Playhouse. And I'm talking to his wife, Diane, who had just left CP Films and said she wanted to work at home because of her kids. And I said, funny you should mention that, because a little company called KMTV had moved out to their new building, and the old building was sitting empty. And I got the idea because I was called by companies that came in to do makeup, and I realized there were X number of companies coming in here to shoot commercials or various things. Mostly they were commercials, and they could use a studio that was easy to get into, plus the fact there were a lot of writers and artists, and I thought, well, maybe I'll rent out the rooms and all that. And so it so happened the company that Diane was just leaving had been hired to do 2 films, and we did all the production work. And then they said, oh, by the way, get us the actors. And I screamed, actors? I don't like actors. And we now have 300 of them, including your cameraman. I had to get that in. But everyone wanted actors, not just location scouting, and we have done so many weird things. At one time, we had a lot of producers come to town. Now where everybody who can afford it owns a camera, we don't have as much out-of-town business as we did, but we just kind of branched out into doing a variety of things. And actually, Theater to Go came along. My mother and my husband wanted to give me a birthday with a 0 in it. And in show business, a birthday with a 0 in it, unless it's 20, doesn't fly. And I said, no, you're not going to do it. Well, it just so happened I had written a script for The Equalizer, and Edward Woodward, who was their star at the time, and I barely had a chance to submit it and hope they would buy it. He had a heart attack. And they were changing the format, so I had just spent 4 months writing a script that would have made too stiff for toilet paper, but I guess you could use it for scratch paper. This is where serendipity comes in. My attorney told me that he had been in New York and there was a new way of doing plays where the actors were in like an old mansion, and they were in different rooms, and the audience went from room to room. I thought, well, that's interesting. And my husband and mother were still going to have the party. I wasn't going to come to it. But I got an idea, and I thought, you know, maybe I can turn my equalizer thing into something that if this works, then maybe we can do it here. Well, there was one teeny weeny little problem. The party was going to be in about 2.5 weeks. There was no way to rewrite it.
Sure.
So I really went out on a very big limb. First of all, I called all the best actors in town, and the only one who would have a script was Dick Boyd, who was going to be the narrator, the butler. And the others, you got a phone call, and I told you about your part, and I gave you a 5-minute speech, and then you were on your own. So we had a party, and the mystery parties in boxes were very big then. Mm-hmm. So we said, we're having a mystery party, real live one, and come dressed as your favorite way to relax. And that's how Theater to Go got started.
Oh, I see.
And everybody was from the Playhouse. They were very experienced actors. And I thought, well, I didn't really intend to get into live theater, but it looks like this could go. Now we have 8 shows and a very funny game show that Randy has written. And we've branched out.
Randy is your son?
Yeah, Randy's my son, and he was in Hollywood for 14 years. He was even Zsa Zsa's assistant, but that's another story. He really handles it, although he works for other companies. I mean, he's out of town right now on location, so he works for other companies. He has his own little company, but he pretty much does almost all the casting. And I've backed into doing more writing, but I am a producer on a film that's coming in called It Snows All the Time. I've forgotten the name, they changed it. And we hope to start that this summer. So I'm still active in the business, but I have a book coming out. We're just working on the
An autobiography, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us the name?
Age is just a number, and mine is unlisted.
Oh, I love it.
Well, and I'll tell you, the thing that I'm concerned about is people under 40 might say, oh, that's an old lady's book. Well, not very likely. I really believe this, and actually 2 of the actresses and myself have a little what I call the cream chicken circuit, meaning the luncheon things, where ours is Age is just a number, and ours is unlisted. And we all come with heavy-duty baggage, past and some present. We sucked it up, and that's what my book is about.
Yeah.
You suck it up, reinvent yourself. Mm-hmm. If it's legal and good taste, we'll try anything, and get out there and do things.
Now, I bet, you talk about reinventing yourself. I bet you've had to do that time and time again over the course of the years.
I've had 19 jobs, only 4 were not paid. Some lasted a long time, some a short time. Sure. And I've only been fired 1.5 times, and you have to read the book to find out what it was all about.
Okay, we'll be sure to do that. So you have been, I mean, you must have experienced Hollywood when it was at its, you know, when it was very,
glamorous.
Yeah, when it was very special.
I'll tell you what I loved then more than I do now, and I have friends that are in film now. You had people that studied acting. A great number of them went to Northwestern, which I did for about 12 minutes while I was working on TV. So
12
I had
minutes.
Yeah, 12. Well, actually, it was 4 months. No, I worked at WBKB in the daytime, so I could only go at night. But you had people like Charlton Heston, and I'm trying to remember some of the others that were there. But for instance, you had people like Peter O'Toole. That one day I was on the set of My Favorite Year, and I tried all day to find a chance to just tell him that if he never made another film other than The Lion and Winter, he would have justified being alive. And then we're both coming out of the restrooms at the same time.
Different ones, I hope.
Yeah, yes. That's all right now. See, you've got my allergy going here. And we literally are walking side by side, and I can see he is so focused that I didn't dare interrupt.
He's in that mode.
Yeah, and that happened with Sean Penn. We were the casting directors for the assassination of Richard Nixon. That was about 5 years ago. It was, they shot here for, I think, a couple weeks. And he needed to see someone, and I said, okay, I'm going to take you to see him, Mr. Penn. And we started walking, and I was going to tell him that he really got cheated out of an Oscar by not getting one for I Am Sam. He was brilliant in that.
That was a brilliant film.
Well, I could see he was so focused that I didn't interrupt him. And that's one of the things that, you know, people will say to me, well, and I told you I couldn't get to the Clooney one because of my husband's accident. When I am on a set, they seem to think we're hanging out. No, we're working. And the one episode of that I did something for Magnum PI, I never was on the set. I helped the gal in charge of the wigs do some of the wigs because it was one of those that was 20 years ago and today. So people don't realize that unless I'm working as an actress, which I never do here, I won't compete with, and I don't really like acting. I'm the one that, I graduated high school on Friday, got on a train Sunday, I'm gonna go be in the movies, and I was so bloody introverted. I didn't get unintroverted till I was about 48, and we had a very big client downtown, and I was so nervous, I asked my husband to drive me down. And as I was getting out of the car, he said, wait a minute. And he told me the 15, or is it 14 most important words I ever heard. If you don't have something, you have nothing to lose by asking for it. Well, now it turned me into this, and they want me to shut up. And nothing gets, and I have a motto that I'll clean up for TV, lead, follow, or get the heck out of my way, because I'll run right over you. They want me to leave the 4-letter word that I usually use in the book. I
wonder what that might be.
Yeah, well, let's play alphabet and we'll find out. But I have never had so much fun, and yet, I mean, it's hard work. There are a lot of disappointments. One of the things that happened recently through no fault of the film company or us, Randy worked on a lot of turning in actors for consideration, and the film company did whatever. And then the client the day before changed their mind. And I mean that...
Lots of notice.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, I will admit, that is the first time that anyone has ever done that when you were that far along. And a lot of people think it's very easy being a talent agent or a talent scout. And it's hard work if you know how to do it. And the sad part is, and this goes on in Omaha and all over the country, and I tried to send an article to 17, I may lose a job over this. We have all of these people coming in to do acting camps and that. And some of them are very good, and some of them aren't. And very often they will invite me to, and other talent agents, to come and see them. And I always go. But there aren't that many jobs. And well, I've kind of lost where I was coming from this. I warned you on it.
Yes.
But it's, I guess where I'm coming from, it's such a complicated business. You have opportunities to find talent there. You have people that, if you're at a party and they know you're in the business, they want to be your new best friend.
Of course.
And we are always looking for new people, but to be very honest, we prefer people that have experience. And the teaching I do at Metro, and I've done it now, I started at the University of Hawaii.
So you teach acting at Metro?
Yeah, that's all I teach,
Okay.
and it's non-credit. And I teach 2 half days in each semester but the winter. I used to teach in the winter, and we were canceling more than we were doing. And really, I do it as a means of finding good talent. And a lot of times, some of the people there have never acted, but you can see they have the potential. And some of them are actors that just want to practice reading movie scripts. Because we work totally with, this is no stage, because you could get that at the Playhouse, and I used to teach at the Playhouse for a short time. This is strictly acting for film and TV. And it's a lot of fun. And as I said, I do it 3 times a year. And but mainly, I'm finding myself letting Randy do more and more of it, like we're doing the Prilosec ones. They're very, very specific on what they want, age and look and all that. And we do the auditions and then turn them in to the other person. And it goes through the chain of command. But the business has changed so much. And in some ways, I don't always find the people as professionally geared as they were. You have these kids that want, like, I had a mother tell me the other day, and she had a really good child in this thing, and I was interested in him. He's obsessed that he's going to go to Hollywood and be in like a series. To which I said to the mom, well, tell him that there are probably 10,000 kids already in Hollywood, and I don't think you folks are moving there. And yet we had 2 families that moved there. One moved there, the other one, there were 4 kids. The 2 boys were determined, so the parents split their time. Dad was with them in Hollywood part of the time, Mom was at home, and vice versa. That's insanity.
So, I know as I talk to people throughout the community, business owners and people that are trying to run businesses, lead people, manage staff and processes, it seems like we've changed quite a bit as far as trying to have a good work ethic, trying to lead people. It's like, leading cats.
That wasn't a great one today.
So it tends to be very frustrating. How have you seen that evolve? I mean, you are a very talented, assertive woman who must have been kind of an anomaly in your industry way back. I shouldn't say way back. Well, it's kind of way back.
Yeah, I think in one way you're right. When we founded Actors Etc. Limited, there were some women. I don't think there were any women location scouts. There may have been. We certainly, Diane and I, were pioneers of women doing what we do. You do have a lot of people. There were 4 or 5 talent agencies at the time. In Omaha, we have more model agencies than we do talent agencies. I'm answering your question in a roundabout way. Sure. But so it's the atmosphere for talent has changed its picture. We go looking for talent. We really, technically, you have more talent than you have jobs for, but that's true in Hollywood. We don't pay attention, I guess, to what's going on around us. I don't know if I'm answering your question right. We have our routine. We started it 40 years ago. We have our guidelines. I think one of the things that makes us different is that we had, both Randy and I, have a background in the business. When I went to Hollywood, all I knew was makeup, but I was very good. Well, when I started working for Stage 8, I started doing continuity, which now they call it continuity. Then we were script girls, or men. I learned every phase at Stage 8. Patrick Michael Cunning became the biggest producer of children's shows in the country in those days. We paid our dues. I think the problem, and I'm kind of answering this in a very generic way, but it's the only way I can answer it. Both Randy and I, he graduated cum laude from the film school at University of Texas. We've worn, the only hat he hasn't worn is makeup. But I think that makes a big difference in what we bring to our clients. And they know that if we don't have the right talent, and this can be production talent as well, we'll turn a job down. Well, I don't know. There was I think today, I know I'm speaking in shorthand, but I always do. Today, for instance, I belong to a film group that meets every month. You all were there last month. Yeah. For the last few years, there have been newcomers coming in, first words out of their mouth, I have a red camera. Oh, it used to be, what kind of a camera do you have? And then it was, well, I have a red camera. And for people who don't know it, that was the latest one at the time. Who cares? What do you bring to the creative part of it? Anyone can turn a camera on and aim it. And that's the thing that has been frustrating to us as a company in the years, is there were more and more people who thought they could do it a little bit and that they knew more, and that created problems for us. Well, as I was telling you, we had this major screw up on the Lady Gaga musical because there were people involved, not necessarily the higher echelon people, that didn't know what they were doing right. And for instance, when I get a call at 4 in the morning to tell the actress who's supposed to be on the set at 6, to tell her they're not going to need her till 9, yeah, that can happen, but it should not have happened. Right. And that's why we always have somebody manning what I call the panic phones.
Is it red?
No, actually, it's kind of a dull white. And I'm sorry that I make a story out of everything. They're kidding me that you ask me a question and I tell you how to write a scene in a book. But Because I've been so, and I get frustrated. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But whatever I'm doing, I even went to school with the private investigator thing. The state requires that. I get frustrated at people that don't know what they're doing, but they get into a place where they can make your life impossible. And I loved the shoot with the Japanese company, and I adored the young man. Well, he made the mistake of not trusting a woman. And at the end, and I'm not making this up, I was called at midnight, come to a meeting, I'm tired. Yoshi is talking about committing harikari, and I said, they don't do that anymore. And the Japanese director says, oh yes, they do. And at the end, I had the sweetest conversation I ever had with someone. He said, I make a mistake of not trusting a woman to be able to do all you did. He even flew in the Japanese food from LA because he didn't know that we could handle that. And there were some other funny things with the cornfield. He was a sweetheart, and at the end they gave me the storyboard, which was 5 feet tall, and it was all in Japanese. But they told the plane, the antique plane, to be in Grand Island, and they decided to go to New York, but they didn't tell me. I don't know how you learn how to do those things if you haven't been whether you get your training like Randy got a lot of it at school, of course, or you do on-the-job training. But before you start selling your services, you bloody well better know what you're doing, because even the best run show and the best group is always going to have a problem.
Absolutely. There's always challenges.
Oh.
There's always something to correct or make better. The thing that frustrates me is people that think they know the answers, so they don't even ask the questions. And there's always something to be learned.
Or they don't send you the information.
Right, and I think what frustrates me too is there's such a sense of entitlement and expectation, because somebody starts here, you know, they all of a sudden want to be catapulted.
Oh yeah.
Into something else like that without, as you said, learning. And
well, they don't want to pay their dues.
Right, and yeah, exactly, paying their dues. It's frustrating. So I'm curious, because you've been on the planet a while.
Yes, indeed, I have.
More than a couple decades.
I even remember gas rationing.
One of the things that we try to do on this show is really encourage people to find their purpose and to go within and know that anything's possible. And if they have a dream, if they have a goal, you know, to set a plan in motion and to work to strive towards it. What would you tell, especially a woman who is maybe sitting at home and listening to us right now, seeing the success that you've had? What would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Well, it would depend on what she wanted to get into.
Sure.
And this, of course, applies to regular business as well. My feeling is you find the best place you can learn. It might be a college, it might be on-the-job training. You may have to go to another city, although today you certainly, and I'm not talking about mine because I don't go into depth, learn as much as you can about the business you want to get into. And if you are in the business world, and I do think very strongly that these many community colleges around have tremendous courses. So that if you're business oriented, I'm getting away from show business a minute, you can find places to learn the business. Or let's pretend I wanted to go to work for, let's say, Mutual of Omaha. Well, I don't go to work in a dress shop. I take whatever job they have and work my way up. And I think too many young people today, and maybe some of the older ones, they don't want to learn the job. They want to go in already doing it, or they don't want to put in the time. One of the people I know who has one of the highest jobs of the gals I know, she went back to one of the two-year colleges, and it was a very good one. And I mean, she's about number 3 in her company now. And she had a family and all that. Well, too many of these people aren't willing to give up 2 or 3 nights a week to go to school.
Sure.
And I'm kind of, really glossing over it in a hurry, but I think too many people today aren't willing to spend the time learning to do what they want to get paid for. And
that's a very good point.
Yeah, and I think that, and it applies to every single job. Unfortunately, too many of the younger people today have no idea what they want to do. And I'll tell you one thing, one of our best friends happens to have a medical practice, and his sons could have gone to school and gone in it. The youngest son said, I don't know if I want to, and he went to Metro for a year. And he said, I'm young and I don't know. He went to Metro for a year. He went in the family practice. He loves it. How many people do you know that will do that? No, they got to go to college right away.
Absolutely. Well, and life is essentially backwards sometimes. You know, sometimes we don't know what we want to do until we actually get that experience.
And we change.
And absolutely, we change. And then we need to reinvent ourselves and
right. That's the word I would have looked for. But
yeah, go ahead again.
And I've reinvented myself so many times, I'm not sure who I am today.
Well, I think we'll find that out in your book. We're looking forward to
having it.
When is it coming out?
Well, we're in the final edit now, and my wonderful, wonderful coordinator said that it will probably not go to the printers for about 3 or 4 months because I did not realize they get into marketing plans first, and we're working on the book cover now, which I want to be very simple. And what we are doing is something that is very becoming the norm. It will be in hardback, it will be in paperback, and it will be on Kindle.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've never gotten into that kind of thing, but that's today.
It is.
And then we have an office, a small office in England, and Laura said, well, maybe I'll try and sell it in the UK, and I'm just saying, do whatever you want, guys, let me just finish my script. But I do have 2 film scripts that are ready to go, or almost ready to go. But one of the things you find, if you wrote something 4 years ago, you need to beef it up a little.
Okay.
And it's a shame I don't have enough on my plate.
You're not busy enough. I just don't think.
Do you have any other ideas of something I can do?
You and I should talk after this, and I'm sure we'll come up with a few more things for you to do.
Well, this is where I started in TV, so I'm back where I started.
Manya, I really appreciate you being with me today. Thank you so much.
I talked too much.
No, not at all.
But no, I had fun, and I loved visiting. What's the young man's name that's the musician?
Oh, we don't know.
He introduced me.
I call him Music Guy.
Music Guy.
But I didn't get it. Thank you so much for being here. You've been such a delight here.
I know you've met Randy, but do you have your picture on file with us?
I don't know. We probably need to check that out. Thanks again for joining us this evening.
Okay,
I really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah. This is Robin Hesselgesser reminding you to live your life on purpose. Thank you.
Well, listen, here it's the last and wicked, terrible, perilous times. The mind fights that bind are signs that we're living in the days when God said he's really getting tired of man's ways, and days are dropping off like minutes.
This program has been brought to you by the Farmhouse Cafe and Mind, Body, Spirit of Omaha.